Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I am so excited to introduce our next guest, Ali Marino. Ali's shaping the future of the creator economy. She's redefining how brands and creators collaborate with greater efficiency. When I say creators, I'm specifically talking about publishers and influencers. A world-class innovator, she thrives on transforming outdated models into cutting-edge solutions. As the CEO of her company, Wayward, she's building a platform that streamlines brand creator partnerships through AI and automation. Previously, Ali spent close to a decade in investment banking at financial technology partners, where she led over 35 billion in M&A transactions. Ali, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Francesca. It was great meeting you a couple weeks ago. I'm glad we could do this.
I'm so glad we reconnected. So for those of you who are watching, we met at the Amplify event in Austin, where there was a bunch of Shark Tank companies, and Hamza and his wife Amanda lead this incredible community of business owners, online content creators, influencers, and brands that are really pushing the envelope and scaling companies. Some of them have scaled to $2 billion, including Allison, the founder of Poppy, who just sold to Pepsi. So this community is not only just wildly successful, but very, very kind and giving. And I feel like when I go to those events, it's almost like a mastermind. So when we connected, we talked offline for a while, and immediately I was like, I need to bring Ali on to share some of the things that she's been doing, especially when it comes to brands partnering with influencers. It may be this very daunting thing for a company. How have you leveraged AI to creating better service for your clients and linking the company with the influencer?
Yeah, definitely. And maybe let me just start with an overview of the company, just so that your audience has a little bit more context into like who we are and why I started it. So
Yeah.
my background, as you mentioned, is in investment banking. I think while I was there, I had the pleasure of interfacing with so many smart entrepreneurs. And I always thought in the back of my head that one day, maybe I would move from client services into an operator role. And in particular, I had the chance to advise on a serial entrepreneur and just total visionary technologist, Michael Rowell, in his sale of his last company. And I always thought to myself, if he ever started another company, I would love to come join him. And that's what I did. So he ended up starting this e-commerce technology incubator called Artica. And this was about 3.5 years ago. We were basically doing R&D in the e-commerce space. We were just trying to figure out what are the challenges that all the parties within the space face, and could we build technology to solve them? And there was one challenge in particular that I became kind of curious about, and then that curiosity turned into just obsession. And that is, why is it so difficult for brands to find the right influencers and the right publishers to partner with? It was like, there's just so much inefficiency in the space. A lot of them, connect, but that connection doesn't always lead to results. And so I, set out to start Wayward as trying to bring predictability to partnerships. And that is our mission today. So we've been around for a little over a year now. We have the backing of Mike Rowell. He's one of the co-founders. And, I think with that backing, it's really allowed us to move quickly and solve hard problems. And this is definitely a difficult data science problem. So I get really excited about nerding out around like all the data that we have access to and really trying to solve this problem. And I think that I'd say like we're 50% of the way there. Like we have built up this amazing network of brands and influencers and publishers. And we've built sort of the foundation of that marketplace, but we haven't yet solved the predictability problem. And I think that's on the sort of like what's next for us. Hopefully we'll have, a beta available later this year that really brings AI to smart matchmaking between all the parties in our marketplace. So to answer your question in a long-winded way, like that's really how we're bringing AI. It's how do you take the audiences that resonate with specific influencers, specific publishers, and tie that to the audiences that really resonate with specific brands, and bringing those together in a really smart way.
It's huge because I see it from the legal side where a brand will spend so much money thinking that they found the perfect influencer, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars doing brand collaborations, spending lawyer time negotiating these deals, finally getting into it. And then it could be within just a few weeks of realizing, oh, we made a mistake. This is not a good fit. It's an example is what happened with Bud Light hiring an influencer that sent their stocks tanking because they didn't do the proper data analysis. So I love that you use the word data because that's obviously what your whole company is working off of, but it's not something I feel that we've traditionally integrated in this type of brand negotiations. So how does your product specifically work with matching them? You don't have to give us all of the details and the secret sauce, but what are like some high level things that you tend to see when you've made a match made in heaven between a brand and an influencer?
Yeah, I think that there's, and look, it's a little bit of art and science, right? The science comes from all of the data that we are, using to inform that smart match. So there are things like the audience, the prior engagement, the behavior of that audience. Are they commenting? Are they purchasing? There is the elements of the sort of creator video. Are those videos or posts or whatever optimized for conversion? So we're looking at like data points, but we're also looking at the intangibles like, why does an audience like this creator? Like, what are those intangible elements? And when I say creator, again, it's influencer and publisher, but why does a consumer go to Wirecutter directly for, specific product recommendations? Why do they follow, sort of the mom that's in Austin like I do? I follow a lot of like moms in Austin. Well, there's probably an element of they're like-minded, right? Or they're, in a similar location, or they're at a similar point in their lives. So there are like intangibles and tangibles that we're sort of bringing together to make that match happen. And then what we know, like when we know it's a smart match is when we see sales. Like we are anchored on driving profitable customer acquisition for brands, which oftentimes means, which most of the time means sales. So we want to see purchases happen from these relationships, and that's what we're optimizing for.
Yeah, no, it's super important. Obviously, not everyone does everything in terms of money, but it is. You want to make sure that this is profitable and that it's a good match so that you can continue to serve your clients better.
Exactly. Yeah, because often, I mean, like you said, Francesca, so oftentimes brands will reach out to, let's call it 1,000 creators, right? 1,000 influencers or publishers, and they might get maybe 100 responses. And in those 100 responses, maybe 20 will actually be a good fit. They send out free product to those 20, maybe 5 will post, and those posts lead to nothing. So it's just a bunch of wasted time for brands to go through that entire funnel. We're just trying to bring more predictability to that, to say, okay, before you go through all of that, let us find you like the 10 like really big drivers for your business in terms of, influencers and publishers. And let's focus on, building these, strong engagements with, between the parties that make, sense from a, hey, content creation perspective, I need money to do that. And hey, I'm the brand, I want to actually pay money for these sales. I'm willing to give up some level of commission.
It's so genius. Do you have major competitors in your space, or are you one of the first companies to leverage AI and data to connect the two?
Yeah, I think we are one of the first companies to leverage AI and data. And I think there are some companies out there that say they have AI, but it's not actual AI. Like it is data science, which is also very good, right? But I don't think that they're using it effectively because we haven't heard of brands having success stories. And that's kind of what I measure things off of. Like, are brands seeing success with other platforms? There are a ton of really good tracking platforms out there, both in the Amazon affiliate space and in sort of the broader affiliate space. Like Impact is an amazing company. They built up, lots of brands and influencers and publishers kind of promoting products, but they're just a tracking platform. And so we want to take that tracking platform to the next level to bring, the special sauce to these partnerships.
It's so great to see you. You found a problem, it's a niche, and leveraging technology. And even reading your bio, I'm like, wow, our mission is very similar. Taking something that's done a more traditional, slow, archaic way, analog, if you will, and leveraging technology to make it go faster. I feel like with that, though, it's concerning to people who have been in this space in terms of dollar signs, right? And this is the issue we have with modernizing the legal industry. If you are going to make things faster, lawyers will get paid less. Is it similar in your industry where by you changing this model, are you making it more efficient, thereby driving the cost down? Thereby, is there this push against using data science and technology to make this process less seamless?
Yeah, I think it's a great question and one I've thought about a lot because, I think that what we're solving, as you mentioned, is taking something that's offline and bringing it online. And the offline process, most of the time people use agencies to actually make these relationships happen and, help bring together the brands and the, publishers and influencers. I don't see it as replacing the agency. I actually seeing it as enabling the agencies to make more money by bringing more deals to each of the relationships that they have. There's always going to be that element where like human interaction and human relationships are going to exist even when this platform exists. And so how can we enable this salesperson at an agency to do 10x more than they normally can? Well, it's bringing more predictability. It is, getting the deals done faster so that it elevates them to a new level where they're not kind of trying to piece together a bunch of different data sources and then sending a report at the end of the month, only to have the client upset because it wasn't the performance that they expected. And so all of these things I think will actually enhance the human element of this business instead of take away from it.
Agreed. I always say this too in the legal industry. It's just going to make lawyers better, more efficient, and we embrace it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Thank you for creating that. Thank you for creating this tool. It sounds like it's really helping a lot of people.
Yes, thank you, Francesca. And thank you to, helping people with, legal, all of the legal elements that go along with running their businesses, right? There are so many calls we get on, so many brand calls where brands are saying, hey, I'm having issues with my Amazon listing, or, I'm having issues with my trademark. Someone's using it in another country. I didn't realize I didn't have a, trademark in that country. So I love that you're kind of helping to solve that at scale for all of the brands.
Thank you. It's wild. It's one of those things that, you're not taught in school. You're not even taught in business school. You really either learn the hard way or you learn through a friend's war story. But so we're definitely on a mission to continue to educate and empower brands to understand how to use IP, intellectual property, and legal tools like contracts just easily to protect themselves. So thank you. And before we wrap up, I always ask a question at the end. If you can go back in time and give one piece of advice to yourself when you started this journey, what piece of advice would it be?
Take more risks. I think that I was a gymnast, and in that, I think I started off in childhood kind of taking a lot of risks there, like when, jumping from the low bar to the high bar. And then somewhere throughout my life, I guess learned to be more risk averse. And I think reversing that is the right way to be as a founder. And so going from client services and investment banking, where you shouldn't take a lot of risks, to now wearing a different hat and pivoting that mindset to taking more risks. I wish that I could tell my younger self, hey, be okay, taking more risks, even in that client services role. But I'm glad I get the chance to do it now because taking those risks has led to, really high reward.
Yes. And as we said before this, we are a minority of women who have committed to growing successful companies, scaling them, and being mothers.
Yes.
And so thank you. I wanted you to come on here to, of course, thank you for sharing these amazing gems for what the future of influencer partnerships is, but also for coming on the show as an example to many of the other women in my community and the women who watch this, that you can be a mom, you
Yes,
can
you can.
have a life, and you can run very, very successful companies.
Absolutely. We are two examples, two of many examples of that. So it's a great point.
Yes. And lastly, where's the best place that people can connect with you?
Yes, feel free to reach me on LinkedIn, or you can email me directly at Ali, ALI, at wayward.com, wayward.com.
Thank you so much, Allie, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next week.